I'm good.
You good, man?
I'm good. I'll just throw my hand up if I...
Oh, you can make yourself good, man.
Or I'll grab a coffee in between. I'll grab a coffee break and...
No problem.
You can fill in the dead air.
Absolutely. I'm not afraid. We can do it. We're live. Okay. Welcome to Timkast. A legend, a hero of mine, Chris Hauter, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Dude, no, you're the hero of mine.
No.
Rock stars are the real heroes.
No, fuck that. No way, man.
I remember years ago, we were having a chat about, like, well, would you rather be a movie star or a rock star? And I said, no, you'd way rather be a rock star. Because then when you want to be a star, you're a star. But then when you want to blend in with the crowd, no one really knows you're a rock star.
Okay.
Whereas like a movie star, it's not the audio that's the star. It's your mugshot, your face, and then everyone knows who you are. There'd be no way of hiding.
Yeah. They talk about Keanu Reeves a lot. There's all these actors over the ages who kind of move, like kind of hide in plain sight. You know? They're real modest and humble.
Yeah.
Kind of like what John Lennon was trying to do in New York in the 80s. Like he just put himself out there. Didn't work out well for him. But
didn't work out well. Yeah. There's always weird stalkers, especially with rock stars.
Yeah, I like the joke that the three coolest jobs in the world is professional athlete, president of the United States, and rock star. And the first two still want to be a rock star.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody wants to be a rock star.
Yeah, that rock star word though, man, it's got some mileage on it. It doesn't mean what it used to mean.
True.
And that's I don't know. That's kind of an evolving. It gets thrown around a lot. The word rock star.
And everything's changed in everything, including rock and roll.
Oh my God, it's so changed, man. I went out and I tour managed for an emo band, a band called Hawthorne Heights, like in 2007. I took a break from Sponge, went out and did a tour managing thing with them, and it was like two different worlds. Like they thought I was from another planet, man, and they didn't have. There weren't chicks on the bus. There weren't drugs. Nobody drank.
Wow.
Like, their big activity was, like, when they rolled into a town on the tour bus.
Was texting.
Texting, yeah. And, like, they would open their laptop and find the vegan restaurant. Like, that was step one, man, as soon as we rolled into a town.
Yeah.
In my days, it was the Coke dealer, the strip club, like...
Yeah.
The priorities completely changed. And I totally respected them, man. I learned a lot from that band, Hawthorne Heights. And, I didn't behave real well. I didn't serve them as well as I should have,
Yeah.
So, I owe them for that. But, God, I learned so much about the new paradigm of rock. That's where I first heard about Facebook was from this band.
Wow.
They were way ahead of the curve in 2007. And so, yeah, things have definitely changed in that world.
Ever changing. Everything is rapidly changing. What took 100 years in the 1800s took a year in the 1900s, takes like 3 months now. I mean, maybe not that extreme, but we are in a rapidly changing world.
Yeah. Aren't we lucky when we got to be alive? I often feel lucky that we saw so much. Like our little slice of time on this ball of fire has been pretty interesting. A lot of shit's happened.
My grandpa, who passed away in 86, at the age of 86, was born in 1900. He saw the streets go from still horse-drawn carriages to the automobile, to space flight, and the dawn of the computer age.
So he's really seen some shit.
He's seen.
You said he's still alive?
No, he died.
Okay.
In 86.
In 86, okay.
At 86, and in our lives, I mean, we were born. I'm 53. I mean, I was born. We're still pretty much in the dawn of the computer information age revolution. Right?
Yeah.
The world is rapidly leaving the analog life, right? It's like young kids can in intuitively work an iPhone, whereas my mom is still trying to press buttons with her hand, and you're like, no, Mom, it's a touch thing, and in our lives a lot has changed, but
dude, yeah,
there's a good chance that our kids, or my kids, I should say, my youngest, who's 3.5, will never have to learn how to drive. That by the time he's of age, a car will be as automatic.
Atomic vehicles.
It'll be an automobile.
Yeah.
In the true sense of the word.
Truly auto.
It'll be automated.
Fully automated.
Yeah. And
full on automation.
You'll just whip out your in 15 years from now smartphone, whatever that is. I mean, maybe it's a ring, a jewelry,
well, shit, they're talking
or
about
an
that
implant.
being implanted.
Yes. and then after that, I mean, clearly humans will not only hack their own genetics, but we will integrate with nano machinery.
I just read an article that DNA hacking, gene hacking is coming. Like, it's not sci-fi. It's coming.
Yes.
But they said it's not for the color of hair and the eyes. That's not the play yet. The play at first is going to be disease.
Disease, yes.
Yeah.
Healthcare. And, I mean, if one's a conspiratorial, one would believe that would be the best way to, quote-unquote, sell it, right?
Oh, I see. Package
right.
it. Like,
but packages.
They're just saying that.
Right. But then, like, I mean, if you, like, think about how, well, let's just imagine some sci-fi world where your genes... You were born hacked, and you have an implant, and they can basically control your thoughts.
Right, and the kids in school tease you if you're an orga. Are you an orga or a hack?
Yes, or you're a hack, yeah. Yeah, it is, who knows what'll happen.
He's an orga. Yeah. He doesn't even have a phone in his head.
That's hilarious.
You know, in your artwork, and I don't know, a lot of people, I hope more people come to learn about the art side of who you are, because...
I hope so too, because I'm getting too old to be a jiu-jitsu teacher.
That's our goal, man. We even talked that first dinner that we had about spreading the word about this, and I was like, man, you got to do... gallery shit, like when you come in for a seminar, like we should have had your shit on display at Kaizen. Like that would have been cool. We got to tighten that up. We have to tighten that up. So next year, instead of like bugging you for the podcast, maybe I'll say, hey, let's fucking put some artwork up to go along with the seminar. You know,
that's a great idea.
I just feel like people need to see your artwork. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, they can. ChrisHaueterArt.com.
Yep.
You know,
even combatbase.com can link to it, right? Or no?
I think so. I don't know.
Oh, this is more the apparel. Okay.
But yeah, there is ChrisHaueterArt.com. One word. Yep.
.com.
And that has some of my art in there. Not all of it, but there is some of my art.
That first shot. Yeah, so folks, we're just looking at ChrisHaueterArt.com. Mixed media, right?
Yes.
Was your wife the model for that shot right there with the wine and the...
My wife is the model for a lot of my shots. That one. And then I blend some of it's, digital painting, some of it's photo manipulation, blending them both.
Yeah.
The only time now I play with real analog art anymore is a sculpture, which I don't have any of that up there because I couldn't easily upload it.
Yeah.
I have to go shoot the right picture and all that stuff. But
so how did you're this fucking badass old school OG jiu-jitsu guy, a Marine, right?
I was in the
Former
Marine
police
Corps
officer.
Reserves. I was in the Army, a guard for another bunch of years.
You're a cop in LA?
I was briefly a cop.
Yeah. How did you get to the art side of it? Where did that come out? How did that come out?
I've always been the art kid.
Okay.
you know, in like school, how there's in any class there's like 1 to 3 art kids, you know, who are always drawing, and I was always one of those. And then there was a brief period where this is kind of, you know, when I was trying to clean up my life a bit, and I was sort of a junior college semi-declared art major, and I had a radical, fundamental psychic change in my life, and I consciously put art on hold. It was almost like this subconscious thing coming up that I had to let art go, and I thought I would put it on hold for a few years, and that like suddenly became like 15 years. And I poured that energy into martial arts, into having a proper career, into more, I would say, I don't use this word politically, but more conservative thinking. I need a practical career.
Yeah.
You know, in my head. But I didn't like intend to put art completely on hold. And then it's interesting. Like, I think I want to say it was about 7 or 8 years ago, one of my black belts, Sam Crescent, who's a co-artist, the main illustrator in our graphic novel, The Guard, which we still haven't released because he's doing other stuff as well.
Okay.
But like I presented him my idea of my, what I call my post-apocalyptic Renaissance story.
Yeah.
And when I had the idea, it was before The Walking Dead and before a lot of things that like what came out afterwards, that because you could feel that was in the zeitgeist. I want to say that was almost
the context.
That was almost 9 to 10 years ago. It was like with the election of Obama.
Okay.
You kind of know that because now center left, of course, the far right would argue this, but Obama's basically a center left, moderate to a point of pain kind of guy. You knew that what would be underground was going to make a drastic shift.
Yeah.
And
it was going to be the forefront. It was going to be
right.
Yeah.
And the underground things would be the like zombie apocalypse, which is basically a libertarian fantasy world, right? Where the absence of any state, a bunch of evil enemies that you kill because they are evil with no moral problem at all. Wow. And then the interactions. I mean, you could see that was the wave coming. And then this idea I had was kind of filled in with that wave and more intellectual. And really, my idea is a movie. But of course, one guy can't make a movie.
Right.
And then, and I try to write scripts. I've got probably 8,000 random script notes, pages of scenes and little interactions, because mostly I'm a visual artist who
all of your stuff is cinematic. I mean, I think the first word that would come to most people's mind, like that looks like a scene from a Scorsese movie.
Yes.
You know, this looks like something that's cinematic.
Yes.
You know, everything has a cinematic look to it. Even the way you present it is kind of cinematic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an LA kid.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching a lot of screens, whether you know back pre. I mean, and as a kid, and I don't think I'm unique, especially not in the martial arts world. Is I escaped through sleep and the fantasy world in my head a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the guy who would with whatever chaos was around in my life, I dreamed of being the hero, the cool guy, the adventurer.
Yeah.
The
secret agent.
Yes, and I loved comic books, but my particular innocence of that was kind of shattered pretty early on. So then, I got exposed too quickly to adult comics.
Okay.
And underground comics.
Okay.
And the Penthouse and Hustler. Very young, and old pre-porn men's magazines.
Okay.
Where you would read these great stories, and then as our hero kicked down the door and the damsel ran up, he expected a kiss, but she slapped him. You know what I mean?
Like the detective stuff.
Yes, that noir stuff. I mean, that's kind of always been in my head, and and it never really left. And martial arts, of course, just fits right in with that. Yeah. And when we were growing up, every kid who thought like me with our insecurities, we wanted to be James Bond.
Yeah.
The perfect hero with no real connection, absorbed in our own egos of how great we are, right?
Yeah.
And then, that of course gets shattered because you realize it's bullshit.
Yeah, that doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it certainly fuels some teenage dreams and
absolutely.
And it's a big part of your art, dude. There's that. I don't know. For my part, I think you got to get that graphic novel done. Like that's what. Like I'm waiting for it,
But Sam Crescent, if you are hearing this,
come on, buddy.
In between making your 300 a day doing Hollywood storyboards for others, let's finish our project.
Yeah. And
then he'll reply, yes, we have to. I need more information. And then I'll go, that's right. And then I have to comb through all my notes.
Oh, so it circles back to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But actually, as I left, I was just completing, because now I'm really into animation. Mm-hmm. And
I saw the stuff you're working on.
And I am going gangbuster, balls to the wall into it. Yeah. So 8 years ago, I began drawing again, and I don't remember who I talked to or whether I heard something on NPR or whatever, how art was going away from the analog art, inks, watercolors, paper, and then you scan it in, and people working directly on the computer. And at that time, I don't think I had an email account. I mean, I was one of those computer illiterate, and I had this moment where I realized that I did not want to become my dad, who used a manual typewriter in the 90s. I mean, he refused to adapt.
You didn't want to be behind. You weren't going to be the guy that's going to be behind.
So I enrolled in a community college introduction to digital arts. And it was, ego busting that, I didn't even know how to open up a window. I didn't know what an application was like. I mean, I had to really learn how computers worked. And then I had a pal at the time, Scott King, who was a computer smart, and he'd set me up an email account, a MySpace account, all these little things. And then I just went, you know what? I'm going to move with the times, not against them.
Wow.
And I just went balls in.
Good for you.
And
man.
Now I'm I'm 3 months into, I'm learning how to animate.
Well, what's interesting is
at a rapid pace.
You're not behind is the thing. You're not behind the 8 ball at all. Your websites look awesome. You have a good Facebook presence. The net result of you jumping in and putting your ego aside is that now here in 2018, you're in the game. You're not behind. You're not a old fogey with the,
Yes, and
like you're in there.
And I don't want to become an old has-been guy. But music wise, I am. But like, there's a lot of, I would say most of the new music, I don't really find much art in it. I find a lot of noise, a lot of, I don't want to bash it, but
No,
yeah,
it kind of bashes itself. Some of it,
God, I think so.
There's some gems though. I get excited when it comes across Spotify or even on the local radio. We have a pretty badass radio station here in Detroit, the 101 WRIF. And I mean, they've been the same rock station for like 40, 50 years.
That's cool.
And every once in a while, something will come up, and I'll go, "Oh, okay. There's people making good music."
Yes, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And then I'll Google it and try and dial into the band a little bit. But
we have 89.9 KCRW, which is a public radio. It'll have like NPR in the day, but they have great evening music with actual real humans who curate and choose the music.
Yeah.
And I get all my new, what I call adult, mature, alternative music on there, and I even hear Sponge on there sometimes.
Yeah, it's out there in the ethos, right? So another one of the reasons why I was so excited to meet you and the fact that we established a friendship. Everything when I was growing up was about SoCal. So I'm this kid sitting in Detroit in the snow and the rain for most of the year, and we would get these magazines.
Skateboards, palm trees, punk rock.
Yeah, BMX, and we'd get them tapes,
The LA punk zines.
Yeah, and we would just see copies of copies and cassette tape copies of copies, and we couldn't consume enough SoCal. Like, it was just... I would be I'd wear the fucking magazine out, waiting for the next Trans World or the next BMX Plus, or, I would just wear the magazine out, looking at it and studying every fucking, I grew up.
You're like, wow, look at that shot in the back of that pool with that ravine and
oh my God.
And the brown lawns and the dying palm trees.
And it was everything. And then the fucking Kung Fu magazines, all the martial arts magazines. I mean, they weren't doing photo shoots in Detroit for Kung Fu magazine, It was all LA. And it's like everything I wanted was in LA. And by the time I got to LA for the career that I was in for music, I was like, wait a second, this place kind of smells a little bit like...
It's not... Yes, yeah. But LA is the weirdest place, right?
Yeah.
LA is like a downtown LA, especially when I was growing up in the 80s, is similar to downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
In size, in abandoned, unoccupied
they are kindred spirits, man.
And the buildings.
Homeless and
it's
fucking,
weird, yeah. Like LA has a huge homeless problem and always has. Mm-hmm. And then there's... LA's such a weird place because then there's also the wealthy part of LA,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
Which is a very powerful aspect of LA.
Yeah.
And then there's the surf skate culture aspect of LA.
Yeah, like I always thought if I could
and the
go...
gang culture of LA and the urban culture, right?
Yeah.
I mean, LA has so many almost diametrically opposing images and images of itself. It kind of like Manhattan, New York in the 80s and 70s kind of reminds me of what LA is now in a way, because like Manhattan now is completely gentrified. It's almost a caricature of itself. It's almost, and no offense to anyone who lives in Manhattan, because I fucking love New York and Manhattan, but there's no like real... the grit of New York is now a caricature of itself. A bit, right?
And I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing, man.
No, it's not a bad thing.
Because it opened up the whole thing to a larger audience and more people got to enjoy Times Square.
Yes.
I saw a little bit before and after, and I think for the good of everybody. I think the Disney-ish kind of thing.
Way better. Yes, way better.
Yeah.
And that's happened with.
Is happening in LA? Is LA getting?
It is happening in LA, but it happened in San Francisco, Chicago faster than it's happening in LA. And part of that, I believe, is because LA is so spread out.
Okay.
And also, LA is basically, there's LA City, which is the largest, but then you've got, Long Beach. You basically have 88 municipal boroughs that kind of grew into LA. So there's no one, if LA County could assert a control the way like New York says, hey, we're going to put in trains.
Yeah.
But in LA, it's a war between all these little somewhat corrupt governments.
Yeah, different factions want different things.
But battling over, we don't want trains in our area because it'll bring in the ghetto, and then other ones want them because it brings in commerce, and it becomes a thing that takes 10 years just to get it through a planning, and then it's out of date because it changes. It's like China. Clearly no one wants to live in the totalitarianism weirdness of capitalism rung amok mixed with residual communist authority. But when they had the Olympics, within 5 years, they completely transformed and made the Olympics happen.
Yeah.
That couldn't happen here because...
Oh, the agility,
that economic building infrastructure agility, you can't do in America because we have rights.
Exactly.
Property rights.
You got to have your boot firmly on the citizen's neck to be able to get things done.
Right, yes. Which it's almost like you understand the appeal for authoritarianism, which, but by the way, is popular globally these days.
Yeah.
Which is a weird twist, right?
That's like I always say, just elect me president. I only need a couple years. I won't stay. But just give me total control, and I'll fix everything.
Yeah.
I just need a couple years, man.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about? I mean, people would kill me if I didn't get down to the history a little bit. But can you talk about how did you first interface with the Gracies? How did the Gracies even come on your radar? So you were. What year are we talking about?
1986 through 88, I was really into Muay Thai boxing.
Okay.
And
were you training?
Yes,
okay.
at the Santo Academy, the IMB Academy.
Oh.
I was into Filipino Kali as well, but basically, here's the brief version of my tale. And of course, depending on what rabbit hole I can expand on areas, but I was fairly freshly off of all alcohol and drugs in my life. And I was pouring myself into martial arts and leaving the fine art world. And I got really into Muay Thai, really into boxing. And I had one pro fight in which I won, but realized by round 3 that this is not the way I want to earn a living.
Boxing match or Muay Thai match?
Muay Thai.
Awesome.
And
you won?
I did win.
Cool. How'd you win the fight?
I won because my hands were better. He was a Cambodian who I fought, and I remember realizing if I had received half of what I had hit him with, I would never have lasted, or I don't think I would have. And in high school, I was always a wrestler, and I was always the insecure kid who, when I graduated high school. I weighed 112 pounds, a good pass for 8th grade. And, I was slow to mature, which later is a good thing in life because I look young.
Yeah. Amen.
But at that time, it sucks, right?
Yeah.
When you're 17 and people think you're 12 and you want to be cool and you're punk rock and party, it just sucks. But so, in high school, I wrestled, I was insecure, I was cocky, I fought a lot. And I won most of my brawls in the street. I was pretty good. I had some experience. I chose my fights well. I didn't, pick on the guy who I would obviously lose. I've always said, and often I will do these big rants on how most street brawls that we have in first world countries are really sporting matches. It's two guys basically. It's unlicensed boxing.
That's interesting. That's because it's in our psyche. It's
yes,
built in.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So we're playing that organized fight role.
We really
even
are.
Behind the bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a rock and roll club or an argument between cars, we're basically.
We all hear the bell.
we hear the bell. We're working out the rules of shame and culture because it's shameful if I look like the guy who's the instigator. But that whole, it's basically a sporting contest.
Right on.
And it's why we have the weigh-in and the stare-off in MMA is to make it look like the unlicensed brawl in the street, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I had my one and only pro Muay Thai fight. It hurt like hell. You could barely walk for 3 days afterwards. And I'm like, I'm going to go back to grappling because wrestling always worked well in the street. I'd close the gap, bring the guy in the ground, hold him in a headlock, punch him in his face. And again, I always have a tinge of embarrassment because what an ego gratifying weird male cultural thing that we do, that we want to fight, because what we do is have duels, right?
Duels.
It's a duel. I mean, ultimately, and our brawls are even in the ring. A lot of it's over honor, right? Most of the time when young and adult males engage in violent fisticuffs, it's an honor duel where someone feels that you violated my honor. You honked at me. You flipped me off. You mad dogging me.
Yeah, you interrupted my flow. Like you got in my
And where you can really see the extreme of this is in jail culture and prison culture, where it's all about honor, right? It's all about the hierarchy of male honor code, right? And so, yes, I returned to the El Camino College wrestling room, and I ran into Mitz Yamashita, who was the Aikido instructor at the IMB Academy at the time.
Okay.
Who I knew him from the IMB Academy. He would have an Aikido class when I would be at the boxing ring. And he was showing guys mounted escapes. And this was 1988. It could have been like November of 87. No, it was 88. I can't remember, but it was ages back. And I'm watching it because I was going to the wrestling room to see where the schedule was to maybe join the wrestling team or at least hop in the practices. And here's the Aikido guy showing mount escapes. And I go, Mitz, I don't think that would work against a real wrestler. I think I'd escape out of that. And so, of course, I go through a classic expose my back, get choked, then protect my neck and extend an arm, but get arm locked. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize Aikido.
Now, is he wearing the skirted pants and the kimono? Is he dressed Aikido?
Yes, it was full Aikido.
Okay.
But he was having this little after his class. I'm thinking, I'm like, Mitz, I have no idea there's this whole grappling thing in Aikido. I got to join Aikido. I had no idea it was this cool. And he honestly says, well, this isn't Aikido. And really, I'm not even allowed to actually show any of this.
See?
But here's with a guy who can. And that's where he wrote Horian's number down. And so I got home and I immediately called. And Horian answered the phone, and
awesome.
I found out he was like, 4 blocks away. He was just,
and this is still garage days for Horian. It's not even Torrance.
No, this is garage days.
Yeah,
and I realized that his house is a skateboard away, right? So I cruised over there and scheduled my first private, which back then were half an hour, $20 a private, and.
Dang. Back then, that wasn't cheap.
Well, it was for what it was.
For what you're
getting.
But
it didn't seem cheap, right? It would probably equal to about 80 now.
It feels like,
or 100, right?
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, I knew I'd hit the gold mine.
Dude.
And then it wasn't too long after that.
What'd you learn the first lesson at Horian's garage? What was the first thing you learned?
Well, when I first walked in there, they were getting ready or in the process of filming the in-action tapes, and Hoist was standing there. I remember him with his hands on his belt, mad dogging me, because on the application you would write down if you had any experience. And, of course, I wrote down all my experience. Wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, Kali. And so, basically, he challenged me and asked, are you here to fight? And, my knees are shaking. I'm like, no, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to learn. You sure? Like back then, and I don't want to make anyone mad here, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu culture is a subculture of Brazil, which is already a very patriarchal, male hierarchical honor culture.
Yes.
And the martial arts cultures across countries is a honor culture. And Brazil was pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Pretty extreme. And I was bright enough to recognize that all I got to do is yield and say no. If I were like a lot of guys in the early days were turned off by the Brazilian Gracie challenge attitude.
Okay.
And the hierarchy, right? Okay. A lot of other martial artists, especially in the early days, they really did attempt to learn jiu-jitsu. This is all pre-internet, only to defeat jiu-jitsu, right? And back then it was like, so you were more screened in essence, like, are you here to learn from us and join us? Or are you here to challenge us? And
so they had to have their guard up because all these assholes were coming in.
There were.
They wanted to dismantle
it.
They thought, so the Kung Fu guy thought, I'll come in, act like I'm here to learn.
Learn
and
a
in
little
one lesson,
bit,
I'll learn the secret.
Right.
And I'll fuck him up with my Kung Fu.
Right. Exactly. I mean.
They were wrong.
They were wrong, yes. Wrong. Because like any art, right, whether it's playing a guitar or painting or putting a ball in a hoop, it takes years of practice, right?
Yeah. Did you, so from that, you're at the garage, and did you initially or shortly thereafter, did you start to feel, was there weight wrapped around these Brazilian dudes? Like, did Horian, could you feel, like, was it loaded with a future? Like, did you see something in this family? Like, did you have any?
Well,
Or were they just kind of contemporaries to you because you were just living your life and you were just trying to find the right martial art, you know?
you know, I gotta say, like anything, there were aspects of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, a culture / model / entity that I absolutely loved.
Okay.
And there were aspects that I found not so honest and rather, to me and my culture, offensive.
I ask you that because it sort of informs what you are now. You are this proud unaffiliate, right? Unaffiliated on purpose. Like, that's part of your pride and your coat of arms.
I am, but at the same time, I'm not so anti a tribal that, I mean, I do understand the importance of honoring one's lineage. Honoring one's...
Of course, you do.
Yes, I absolutely...
You tip the hat to Hegan,
yes.
and
To
Hickson.
Hegan, to Hickson,
Yeah.
but Jean-Jacques, even Horion.
Yeah.
Horion has always been nothing but open and warm towards me.
Okay.
And I know a lot of guys have a lot of issues with Horion. I know that, like, just here's a little story, right? I often say, you know, if you want to understand the Gracie family, the dynamics, and here we are back with my child of LA movies, but
yeah,
it's kind of like understanding the Italian mafia mixed with a multiple wives with different offspring and kids that you know are half brothers that mothers whisper into their own son's ears things. You know, it's you know, I don't want to get you know, that's all their business.
Right.
It's none of my business.
And you're not making any critiques on that. You're making observations. I totally hear what you're saying. And I think if more people spoke about it the way you do, instead of people leaving the system, they leave the affiliation and they just talk about weird things and
then
they're
they just
assholes.
want to shit talk.
Yeah. You're not shit talking.
No, I don't want to shit talk.
Yeah. You're saying.
I mean, I'm like Halleck. I really like Halleck with Gracie.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are so pissed. Do I think he made very dumb moves in the way he handled Metamoris? Yes.
It's clear that he fucked up some stuff, but I mean...
And, you know, him and I were communicating then. And like, I understand why he did the things he did. Like, I mean, I could say I understand why Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton did the things they do. I think once we choose a side and choose to not look at the skeletons in our own closet, it's very easy to just see the skeletons in others. And being a male with the last name of Gracie can't be an easy road to hoe if you want to do piano and ballet. You know, I mean, there's a lot of patriarchal honor culture pressure on these guys to be warriors. And I always say, you know, so far out of Horion's kids, Halleck is the artist out of them. He's the one who kind of wants to do his own thing. And like, honestly, I can't understand for the fucking life of me why Huron and Henner didn't help him out regarding the money he owed. Because he only owed guys, I don't know what it was, in the neighborhood of around 80 grand. I mean,
Yeah, well, we definitely can't speak for them. But
Kieran and Henner make $20,000 a month just from their online sales. Not even talking about their academy. It's like, give your fucking brother a loan.
well, I think he misrepresented the way he was set up with them. Like, Henner's actually spoken publicly about this on other podcasts. Yeah, Henner just said that, Henner and Huron have this hugely valuable thing with the university, with their location, right? And they've put a lot of time, a lot of stock into it. And Halleck was presenting as part of that. And he's not officially a part of the university. Like,
yeah, but you see, even that, here's where Gracie family stuff almost reminds you of the Italian mob.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and I'll flash back to I was in Hawaii, and it was 1996 or 7, and I was we were all eating out, and I don't even want to mention names.
Right.
I was eating with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu royalty, and they were talking about one of them, half in English, half in
Portuguese.
Yes, and it got more. And I remember I started to chime in my little experience of resentment, and they looked at me like who the fuck? It's like, I can talk shit about my brother or a cousin, but you can't. The bloodline is clear. And
you felt it at the dinner table there.
Yes, and I felt it the way Tony Soprano, looks at the unmade guy and says, who the fuck are you to make a comment? And
so what point do you become, so that, just as me as a student of it and looking back, so how does one become a Hickson disciple? So it seemed like you sort of gravitated towards Hickson.
Well, no.
Is that accurate? I don't know.
Like all of us, especially in the early days, including my coaches.
Okay.
Right? Hegan, Jean-Jacques, especially Jean-Jacques.
And Hickson is their master. They identify.
So like Hickson is Jean-Jacques, like primary role model, coach, a privates instructor. Hegan even. And they kind of, early on in the day, they threw Hegan under the bus, making him have that match against Hickson, which he never really wanted to do. But it was one of those things where the Machados are blood, obviously, more than I am, but not, it's that, I don't even want to talk about that.
That was a weird thing.
Because that's
There's video of that.
Yeah, my stories won't be accurate on it, nor do I feel like I rate an opinion.
Okay.
But, and, there was a lot of inter-family politics and splits, and, it's like the natural course in a patriarchal household is that when the males come of age, they leave the home and go on their own and open up their own thing, right? And that's true whether you're in martial arts,
plumbing,
whatever it is, right? And parents beef with their adult kids and all that stuff. It's just like I've had that. I've had the growing pains with my black belts.
Okay.
And my first black belt, Matt Thornton, who's the SBG head coach.
Yeah.
Who's, he has a crop of very talented black belts. I'm the grand coach, right?
Yeah.
And I like to stay in the role of that. I don't want to intervene in how he runs his affairs. I don't want to intervene in any of my guys. I want to give them their own reign, right?
That's beautiful because he's made his mark on martial arts.
Matt is absolutely, yes. Matt is, a lot of guys will say, oh, Matt's an arrogant egomaniac who's way too opinionated on other arts. But, Matt's an intellectual. And Matt and I will agree on like 80% of most things. Then there's 10% where we sort of agree, and then there's 10% where we probably don't agree at all. And we could go into just what we are not agreeing with. It would be absurd because we mostly agree, right?
Yeah.
And Matt, like most guys, wanted to create a lasting, powerful, innovative, always evolving organization that he has done very well in.
He did it.
He absolutely.
Fucking A, man.
And as much as people will go, oh, Matt's arrogant. Matt's actually, I mean, he doesn't have his name out there everywhere, right? I mean, he kind of sits back more.
You got to dig to find out about it. You got to go a layer past
Yes,
Kavanaugh.
right.
You got to go past Kavanaugh, and then there's an SBG. Oh, there's a gorilla
Right,
logo. Okay,
right,
well, what's this all
yes.
about? You have to dig to get to Matt Thornton.
Matt is the general.
Yeah.
And he has done very well in that role, I think. I think out of most of the current large model organizations, I do like how he runs his tribe.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like a tribalism,
Yeah.
but at the same time, a tribalism is an evolutionary, natural, and nurturing thing for those within the tribe.
Yeah.
And we're all in tribes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an American. I'm in the LA tribe. I'm in the Jiu-Jitsu tribe.
Yeah.
But that's, for me, where it kind of ends. And it's by choice that I didn't want to start my own Chris Haueter's martial arts thing, because then inevitably what happens is your black belts, they either have to remain loyal to you or they go on their own.
You almost create the ultimatum.
You do, yes.
I got you.
It's that natural course I chose to dodge. So, some would even say it's not in a not very straightforward but declarative way. I almost just avoided it by not participating in it.
Yeah, but as we sit here and you share this, you start to realize, well, maybe you got it right. Maybe you let your black belts spread their wings, and all of a sudden now we have an SBG and Matt Thornton. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
maybe what you did, Chris, is exceptional. You know what I'm saying?
And I would say, Mike, a Chapman of Impact. He's got a lot of schools, a lot of athletes. All of my black belts, and I think I've got like 38 of them now.
Okay.
And I don't want to start like naming because then I'm going to forget.
No.
But
all awarded at combat base, right? This is all. Were most of your black belts awarded from combat base, or were you?
Well, here's the thing. My first 4 black belts, by the current rules, I wouldn't even be allowed to award them a black belt.
Oh, just because of the time spent types. Following the IBJJF.
Because I had only been a black belt. I think I was I was a black belt 3 years when I gave Matt his a black belt, and then 6 months after, Tom Oberhue and Mike Chapman.
Okay.
And they were the core of SBG at that time.
Okay.
And we were all young. And I cut my teeth and learned how to teach with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they learned from me and I learned from them. And it was more that I wasn't in the role I am now, more as like the elder statesman. Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of young black belts, it's almost like because of the way it is, unlike, say, some pro sport where you get paid to be an athlete, but jiu-jitsu guys have to make their money. And because we get so hooked on this, we make our money instructing while we're still young athletes, right?
While you're still learning.
While we're still learning, while we're still cocky, while we're still in that aspect of our lives, right?
Yeah.
I've said many times in rants, and who knows if it's true because no one has a crystal ball, but but jiu-jitsu became a high school sport, but jiu-jitsu season begins when wrestling season ends. Within 7 years, Americans would not only rule a podium, but it would become an Olympic sport. Would that kill it, or would that improve it? That's in the laboratory. Who knows, right?
Well, it didn't. There's a schism, and there's two different sides to the argument, but it really didn't kill judo.
It didn't kill judo.
Judo still was a Budo art.
It hasn't killed wrestling. What kills martial arts in their purity are man-made rules, which turn them into sports, which is why I say you think street, you train the sport, and you practice the art. And because there's no way you can just merge all these, right? If we use, let's use colors. Street is red.
Okay.
Sport is blue, and the art is black or white.
Okay.
Either one, right?
Okay.
If we just mix them all, you can no longer even see what was red, what was blue. It becomes a watered down thing. You have to go into the extremes to understand where is the middle.
Okay.
Where is the balance of these things, right? And where'd this begin? Oh, yeah. And I've heard guys say, yeah, but if jiu-jitsu became like wrestling, it would be a public sport, then all our academies would close, and I clearly make my money off it being. I don't believe that at all, because unlike
it would go up, the demand would go up,
right?
Yeah,
but jiu-jitsu is a family sport.
Yep.
You do it when you're a kid or as an old man.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling is not an old guy's game anymore, because it's the sport, which is so athletic. Sure, is there art in there? Sure, is there aspect in the reality of a real brawl in there? Yes, but it's gone completely into the blue corner on that pyramid. Aikido has gone completely into just the art aspect of it, right? It's lost the reality of either sport or street.
Yeah, no small thanks to jiu-jitsu and the proliferation of jiu-jitsu.
Something like Krav Maga or some military combatives is so into street, they lose the real timing and athletics that come from knowing the sports, and they lose the finesse and flow that come from the art, right?
Yeah.
And I think any like modern MMA is basically become an art in and of itself. And because of the way the man-made rules are now, the parameters are so well known that, the round is going to be 3 minutes. You're allowed this, that, and that.
Yeah.
And it's honed itself in to its own niche.
Like it's at the point kids can synthesize it in the backyard. It's synthesizable. You can repeat it and you can mock it and you can
exactly. And judo, as a result of the sport and a result of trying to make it appeal to an audience, which is what happened in MMA as well, because grappling matches are boring.
Yep.
And to put asses in seats, they change the rules. Because even grapplers, I would rather see a high throw or two guys unskilled punching each other in the face, then a boring, long, slow, he finally passed the guard and won. Yeah. So judo starts to alter its rules, and they alter them to preserve the art of the upright throw, because once you remove strikes, you can stick out your butt, bend your head down, and it becomes wrestling with a gi, which is basically what a jiu-jitsu sport is.
Yep.
The stand-up is a blend of judo and wrestling with a gi, with a collar that isn't as thick, and it's become its own niche, right?
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu was evolving into a thing where pulling guard was no longer punished, but even rewarded, depending on how the biased referees would cheat.
Yeah.
So the jiu-jitsu world got icky and sticky very quickly.
Yeah.
And I watched that evolve from my first sport match as a purple belt into where it is now. And it evolved away from street effective combat. In the same way that high school wrestling, in essence, evolved away from Roman gladiator style street effective combat.
Right.
But Greco-Roman evolved into its own sport to preserve the upright throw and clinch, eliminates all leg grab attacks, right?
Yeah.
Much like judo. And to preserve the art, I get that. Like 100%. I understand why we preserve the art and we create these rules, because we're not allowing a punch in order to get the humans to not stick out their asses and lower their heads. We have to have these rules, no leg grabbing.
Right.
And that's how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, there's you brought up one thing, and I would be bummed out if I didn't ask you about it. You mentioned Matt Thornton and SBG. A famous moment is after the first Diaz fight, Conor stops by Combat Base.
Oh yeah.
And that was I'm imagining that was facilitated by Matt, and he was.
Actually, it was John Kavanaugh who facilitated that. I believe. I can't remember. It could have been Nono, who's got a school in Hermosa, whose son, Jean-Paul, is one of Conor's sparring partners.
Okay.
And then John Kavanaugh sent me a message that saying he was... I don't remember how it all worked.
But all of a sudden, we're on our way to the house.
But July, I will be over in Ireland at John Kavanaugh's place.
Oh, at SPG?
Yeah.
Is it Dublin? Is that the...
Dublin, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and then... But Conor's a super cool guy.
Okay.
He really is a classy, humble guy. He of course he plays a role.
Yeah.
Because that's his job, right?
Yeah.
MMA is a show.
Yeah.
Let's be clear, right?
Business. Show business.
It is. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
It is an entertainment the same way Fox News is not a journalist thing. It is an entertainment show about politics.
Yeah. Once you peel it back.
Once you peel it back, which is fine. One could say the same about CNN as well, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
The interesting thing about Conor, that your intersection with Conor, is that he comes off the loss to Nate Diaz, which was a huge victory for jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't care who you are or what you like. Well, jiu-jitsu won that night. You know?
That's how the world saw it.
Yeah,
they saw it as the striker expert versus the grappling expert. When really what that was the guy you fight with your best game.
Yeah.
And let's just like I'm known as a grappler. I'm a 53-year-old, far more skilled in grappling than I am in Muay Thai.
Okay.
But if I fought a guy who I predicted that he was more skilled in grappling but had zero Muay Thai experience,
Yeah.
and me and him are chucked in a pit, what am I going to do? I'm going to try to avoid that part and fight my best game, right?
Yeah.
And people acted as if, now Connor's going to go learn the jiu-jitsu. Connor, it's like he's already a good brown belt, but he was a superior hands guy to Nate. You know what I'm saying. I mean,
it was interesting because
MMA fans are the fucking worst.
Well, what I saw on Facebook, just on your personal page, like the visit came about, that got a bunch of press, and then there's the press thing. It's going through all the blogs and stuff that Connor stopped by Combat Base,
right?
But then I'm, as a friend of yours on Facebook, I'm watching you live it, and post pictures about it. And there was a thread. I don't know if you remember it, but it was, and you have tons of friends on Facebook, and I'm sure they level
and enemies.
Yeah, and enemies, right? But what was cool
who
is
believe I'm a Marxist.
People were like, "All right, Professor Hauter,
I'm I'm a capitalist." But anyways,
yeah. Well, everybody was like, "So what's the deal?" Like everybody turned to you after we saw that he was at Combat Base. Everybody's like, because everybody's joking. Connor's taking white belt classes, and like everybody was just shitting on Connor for getting choked out.
They were,
and then everybody looked at you after seeing the pictures of him at Combat Base, and everybody was like, "Chris, is he legit?" And you emphatically said, "Dude is a solid brown belt. Don't worry about Conor McGregor." Like you didn't even hesitate. You said, I think your words were solid. That's how you answered.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. You said that.
Well, I just know because his coach is a solid third stripe black belt.
Yeah.
I know his coach,
yeah.
who's nailed me in some good guillotine chokes.
You don't remember when he was at Combat Base? Do you recall the rolls, like and the hang? Like, did you roll with him? Like,
I rolled with Conor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you felt that he was a legitimate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not. Why would I fucking lie?
I know. I know. It was just cool that you became.
I know.
The what do you call it? The litmus test. Like everybody's like, well, he was just at Hauter's. Let's ask Hauter.
Which is kind of hilarious, right? Well, why would I be Connor's litmus test, right? I mean, clear, but I can understand too, though. It is weird. It's like I'm not going to drop any names, but over the last 15 years. 20. I've rolled with a lot of UFC guys.
Okay.
One of my jiu-jitsu black belts, who's under Coach Kubatai, Mads Burnell in Copenhagen, he's currently in the UFC, and he is a phenomenal grappler. Really good boxer. Good Muay Thai. I've rolled with guys who I am shocked that they're in the UFC because their grappling is so bad.
Yeah.
And I've rolled with other guys who are really, really good, and I'm shocked that they can't get the contract. Okay. That's what I mean by UFC is a show the same way Hollywood is a show.
Yes, there's no formula for...
Right.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot at the gym. Yeah.
And they pick the names that give a big draw, just like acting. You pick Al Pacino, not just because he's a great actor, because there's all kinds of great actors. Mm-hmm. Some who are probably better actors, but Al Pacino is Al Pacino. So UFC works in that way.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say it's not a genuine sport in the sense that there's a legitimate structure in which you advance yourself through a bracket the way if you win the IBJJF World Championships.
Yeah.
You have clearly gone through a legitimate bracketed contest to win the gold. MMA does not have that. And in our human brains, we can only keep 1 to 3 chunks of information at a time. We can't keep a track of the top 100. We can keep track of the top 3 or 4. And it's a show done with the melodrama of the good guy versus the bad guy, or the guy from Europe versus the guy from America, or the guy from Hawaii versus the guy from this, the guy from the hood versus the cowboy.
Yeah.
It's a show.
Sure.
A show with talented athletes performing in the show.
Yeah, and we all fucking love it. And
Yeah.
we're addicted to it. We
Yeah.
can't look away.
It's good drama.
Chris, I can't thank you enough for this, man.
We're probably over talking, huh?
Yeah,
Where are we
I
at?
will not be the guy that made Chris Hauter late to the seminar for
right.
my sensei, Ryan
Yeah.
Ferenzi. Shout out to him for letting us have some time with you. And shout out to Matt Linsmer from Magic BJJ.
Magic BJJ,
Yeah.
Matt, Ryan Fiorenzi. I call him Chaim Fiorenz.
Yes.
Oh, Chaim Fiorenzi.
So I'm the lucky guy that gets to go hang out at the seminar and hang out with you tonight and do some jiu-jitsu. And I'm going to post links to combatbase.com. On the YouTube video, there's links to combatbase.com, link to your Facebook page. I'll link to the chrishauterart.com also.
Cool.
So people can check in and see where you're at and what you're doing. And hopefully we get to do this again, man.
Absolutely, buddy.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Here
Thank
I am
you.
lounging all around. Okay.
I love it. You got comfortable. You got into it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
This is Chris Haueter checking out.
Perfect.